पानी की हर बूंद की अपनी कहानी है। किस बादल से बरस, किस पर्वत से निकल, किस नदी से लिपट, किस धरा से टकरा आपके ग्लास तक आई है। आज ये जानना बहुत जरूरी है, जिससे सबके ग्लास में पानी बना रहे। क्या आपके आसपास भी कोई पानी की कहानी है? जुड़िए पानी की कहानी इनिशिएटिव से। panikikahani.org से जुड़ें। जानकारी के लिए संपर्क फॉर्म जरूर भरें। लोकल के लिए वोकल बने। नव प्रवर्तक पोर्टल्स भारतीय इंजीनियरिंग द्वारा स्वदेश में ही निर्मित एवं संचालित हैं। आज ही अपना खुद का पोर्टल बुक करें।
What I read about water, we have been putting water under different sectors. We are doing intersectoral water transfer, but the holistic water cycle says that water is used, reused, and returned back to the nature. So the first component is what we are using it now. Second component is reuse, and third component is you have to return back to the nature in the same state at which you have abstracted at the first place. In the first session, there was a lot of debate on intersectoral water transfer from Himalayan sources, and we said that we can build so many dams and water is there and we could take water, and there was some sort of elite urban approach towards the entire paradigm of urban landscape. I'll give you a bad news here. The rivers have been over-allocated. There was a statement made in the morning that Eastern India has a lot of water. I work most of my time in Eastern and Northern UP, Central UP, Bundelkhand, and I have visited villages. There are 3 rivers, Pandu River, Ganga River, Yamuna River, and there is no water in that village. So please don't be under the impression that there is plenty of water in our river. There is only one water sufficient river basin, and that is Brahmaputra. And that is also not sufficient at all the time. When we need the water, there is no water. Thirdly, how many new Gurugrams you are going to create? I am going to ask you, city has grown in a very fragmented manner. And it has survived on water which was not your water. Now you are blaming 85% of water is being used by farmers. If you calculate the water footprint of 1 liter of milk that you get every day in your home, around 1,900 liters has gone into fodder, into cattle, and why you are blaming the poor farmers? The entire blue water footprint should have been calculated, and you should have paid for the water, the shadow price, the cost forgotten by those farmers. So when the drains become the road and the roads become the highways, you get many Gurugrams. Now, there is a lack of shared understanding. What I believed here, I'll come because time is less and the topic is so broad and wide. I will briefly touch upon the urban political economy of mostly the competition of spaces, the landscape, what is happening. Basically, I worked for, during my doctoral days, I was interested in dual water supply. Because I thought it is quite irrational to use the same water that you drink to flush your toilet. And what you need is just 40 liters per capita per day. Very high quality water of European Union in standard. And rest of the water for your irrigation, for lawn, for washing your car, you could have even brackish or partly treated water. What you need is the dual supply system at place. And you also need a lot of wastewater reuse and recycling so that the entire loop is done, the loop of the water cycle. And there is a variety of habitat, we have been missing. We have become so urban-centric that we forgot the mosaic of habitat around us. This area where you are, it was like that even during the last ice age. There was no water. The thing is that you have developed massively onto a very eco-fragile area, and what you're drinking is the water. If you date the water, if you do oxygen isotope dating, it is 5,000 years old water. NRL has done it. The water that you consume 700 meters below the ground is not your water. So, is it useful to develop different distribution system of potable and non-potable water usage so that you could reduce your water footprint? And we should also focus on decentralized water system. What I have observed, the economies of scale doesn't work with larger STPs. Normally, I have visited so many sewage treatment plants, and if you exceed more than 50 MLD, they don't work, they become white elephants. Because you need a lot of pumps, you need conveying system, and you have to transfer a lot of black water to the STP. So my thumb rule is anything beyond 50 MLD is not desirable. You should plan less and use water locally for non-potable purposes through a dual distribution system. So I did one experiment. Before going to those experiments, whatever externality that you are getting, there's a big market failure. I work with farmers, and there's a lot of focus on precision irrigation, micro irrigation. But when I ask them, how do you do tillage once you put all the piping system, it is very difficult to suddenly put a technology and you don't know the technology pathways, you don't know the failure, you don't know how the technology behaves. We assume that once there is a technology, it will solve all the problem. There is a problem with even the precision irrigation, because farmers are tuned to flood irrigation, and what you eat, basmati rice and sada rice, kalan, बहुत सारी varieties है, they take a lot of water, and most of the water is also not going to the crop, but also as a return flow to your rivers, to your drains, to your ecosystem, to your mare, pollination, birds, habitat. So please don't blame farmers that they are using 85% of your entire bucket of water. The groundwaters have been exploited, aquifers have been overdrawn, and the peri-urban conflicts that you have seen here, that we want that water should come from Renuka Dam, from Yamuna, from this canal, from that canal, this model will not solve your problem. Let me tell you very frankly, intersectoral water transfer will not work in the longer term. Rivers are over-allocated, and there is a legitimate riverine usage that must be respected. What we call environmental flow, the ecological flow, the environmental water release. So basically, when you look the entire water sector, it has got multiple meaning. We just cannot say that there is a glass of water. We have to have a kind of modest, integrated approach to look into the critical ecosystem, to scarce commodity with a market value once you get the product, and also livelihood and culture. When you have to take a dip during special days in the Ganga, you want water, and somebody has to close the industry in Kanpur so that water is good. So there are multiple meanings. So in Dwarka, what we did during my doctoral days, long time back in 2004-5, we developed a dual supply system for a sector 10 Abhigyan society, and we developed an ion exchange system, and that ion exchange water was supplied for the potable use, and the brackish groundwater which was mixed with the runoff water and other water was used for flush your toilet. We have to go to this kind of system because there is not enough water. Secondly, water is a heterogeneous good, and there has to be a differential pricing. And when you develop this kind of paradigm, when you plot a graph, price and quantity and the service levels, there is a deadweight loss. There is a loss of sustainability when you use the same water which is coming from Tehri Dam, and you flush that water could have been used for better purposes. So what we need now? Getting that extra. This syndrome that we rely on intersectoral, interstate water transfers, and whatever Gurgaon will be there for next 40 years because there is enough water. You have to go beyond this kind of paradigm. There has to be 100 years water vision, because this is an eco-fragile area, very arid area, and the kind of geology, lineaments and rock fractures, leaky aquifers, Even if you store water, the water will not be there for more than 1 month because the water will percolate down. And you have to seal, you have to do what you call the grouting of the lineaments, so that we have been doing in Bundelkhand area. So coming back to, because this is, we did a discrete choice experiment, I will not go into the model, what we did, differential. This we designed a dual supply system, and we provided 20 to 25% of the potable water, almost like 40 liters per capita per day, and non-potable, and we calculated the cost efficiency that you get, and even the lost opportunity that you save in using the reclaimed water. So there is a preference heterogeneity. We prefer different sorts of water, and there is a market for it. But coming back, I will not go into model. Coming to Gurgaon scenario, what happened? It was created kind of a counter-magnet area for Delhi, so that NCR concept came, and till 79 it was part of Faridabad. Then this Special Economic Zone Act came, and there was a real estate boom during the last 2 decades, earlier 2 decades. So the urban sprawl and the installation of mega project became a regular phenomena, and it was done under a single window system. The Land Acquisition Act was relaxed. The political economic situation that emerged was that it was very chaotic, and we acquired all the common property resources, CPRs, grazing lands, forest. And you know, the mathematician called Leonardo da Vinci, 17th century mathematician, he said, the biggest rivers of the world flows underneath. It is the groundwater that sustains the economy, and we lost the groundwater, we lost the return flow, and we lost Sahibi, we lost all the drains, and we lost Nazafgarh that used to contribute to River Yamuna. So peri-urban conflicts, unregulated improvisation, I will not go into detail, monopolist master planning. Let me come to this. With goal of revenue maximization, I should challenge the concept of GDP, because GDP forgets the natural endowment or the natural capital. For how long you are going to have positive GDP at the cost of common property resources, the rivers, the ecosystems? There has to be a stop, but we are not trying to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. This is the model of the urban planning, and there was not ex ante planning and the foresight. There is no citywide drainage and sewage system, and groundwater usage has gone up. There is NCR channel and Gurgaon water supply canal, and there is a Gurugam Jajjar wastewater canal, which is a good news, because there is an effort to use the reclaimed wastewater. I think the focus should be also to design a separate reticulation system even for planned areas, so that at least we could irrigate our lawns, flush our toilets and those other things, so that at least some pressure could be reduced. Now I will briefly come to, I will not take more than 2 minutes, let me come back to the master plan. This is the only area in the world where you had 3 master plans in a span of 5 years. I have visited more than 20 countries in the last 5 years, studying how the urban sprawl happened. And when I look at the model of Gurgaon, it is a classic case of land use change under a monopolist, muddling through planning. When you know the planning, what you call conflicts, you change it. First the focus was on person per acre. That is still the parameter, 37 lakhs, then we went to 45 lakhs. However, when we created the second master plan, there was focus on SEJ, and then Gurgaon master plan 2031, which just came in 2012. Now it envisages a population of around 42 lakhs. Now I'll show you these 3 pictures, and this is the land use change that I calculated. Here is the loss of sustainability, and the mind of planner, I call it deforestation of the planner's mind and the de-watering of the planner's mind, because you put everything in the periphery, your scrub land, your vegetation, your common property resources, and the real estate comes into the center stage. See the growth, land use change in 2000, 2009, 2017, and what we have lost. We have lost scrub land, vegetation, we have lost agricultural land, prime class A agricultural land, forest land, and we still blame farmers because we want basmati rice, and that survives on flood irrigation, because your precision irrigation will not work for paddies, for sugarcane at least, and for other few crops. So these are some of the mysterious changes that, because I also work on what I call the urban conflicts, the planning conflicts, and you could actually calculate in terms of lost using GIS layering, what was lost, what was gained. So if the vegetation was lost, you could put it red, and if it is gained, it is green. So a lot of planning conflicts which was designed for cropland, now there is a multi-story apartments, right? So this syndrome, please stop it right away. एक गाना था ना कि जैसी बची है वैसी ही बचा लो दुनिया. I think it is a tipping point, and I should stop here now. Thank you so much. Because I had to rush, I thought I should be right. So see, right now, what should be the model of development? First of all, we have to. There is a concept of called hedonic price in economics, that you put a price on the land, but the natural capital, the natural endowment, the common property resource, and why there is a need for relaxation of land acquisition when there is also a system of giving clearance occupancy certificate here in Gurgaon without getting a water connection. Nowhere in the world this is done. You get an occupancy certificate, and that was done to promote real estate. So at one point of time, one hand you are showing that the GDP is growing and people want to come because there is a job. What kind of paradigm is this? You want to destroy the village? From where the food should come? Please don't be urban-centric, elitist approach in urban planning process. This is a very dynamic process. Rural area has to be rural, or there has to be sanctum sanctorum. Otherwise, you cannot keep on getting food from outside. Bundelkhand was known as bowl of pulses, right? I will give you an example because I have been working in those water scarce area. Now there is a canal, and now they are thinking of eucalyptus, paddy. They have diversified from pulses, arhar, then flax, then your mustard. They were less water requiring crops. So once you have water, then suddenly your incentive behavior also destabilizes, right? So please don't destroy your incentive behavior also, because once you see there is another canal, and then it will go down. Thank you so much.